In exactly 48 hours, high-stakes negotiations are scheduled to begin in Islamabad. The United States has dispatched a top-tier delegation, led by figures like Jared Kushner, to secure an agreement that could pull the Middle East back from a wider war. But just days before these diplomats sit down, the prospect of any agreement appears dead on arrival. Suddenly, Iranian forces have initiated a series of sharp escalations. In the Strait of Hormuz, Iran has declared control over international waters. They are actively demanding that commercial vessels check in with their armed forces and pay a toll to pass through safely. At the same time, Iranian officials issued a stark public warning. The upcoming negotiations will be meaningless if military strikes continue in Lebanon. This raises a question. Why is the diplomatic process breaking down before anyone has even reached the negotiating table? Iran is engaging in a calculated game of pre-negotiation posturing, using these sudden moves to project strength before the first session begins. To understand Iran's aggression, we have to look at the current regional balance. Right now, U.S. and Israeli forces hold an overwhelming military advantage. Over 40 days, an allied campaign systematically dismantled Iran's hard power, taking out the production lines used to manufacture drones and ballistic missiles. At the same time, they dealt a severe secondary blow to Iran's military structure, eliminating dozens of top officials within their proxy networks. This creates a leverage deficit. Iran is forced into the Islamabad talks with virtually no hard military advantage left. Arriving with empty pockets, they are trying to generate weight on their side using whatever threats they have left. Lacking genuine hard power, Iranian officials are forced to artificially manufacture leverage to avoid making crippling concessions at the table. To create this smokescreen of strength, Iran has executed a tactical pivot across 3 distinct fronts, relying heavily on propaganda and manufactured crises. The first front is an economic chokehold. By harassing the Strait of Hormuz, they are threatening global trade routes and sending a direct warning to economic powers like China. The second front is a proxy shield. Iran is linking their cooperation at the negotiating table to the survival of Hezbollah, their largest proxy force. This strategy faces a firm Israeli position. Prime Minister Netanyahu made it clear that military operations targeting Hezbollah are decoupled from the broader Islamabad agreement. The third front is the nuclear threat. Ahead of the weekend, Iran's atomic energy chief announced that they will continue to enrich uranium. That enrichment directly defies the demands laid out by the incoming U.S. administration, escalating the tension right before the deadline. However, U.S. intelligence officials describe much of this escalation as mere propaganda, pushed out aggressively for public consumption. Iran has synthesized these maritime, proxy, and nuclear threats into a single artificial ultimatum. The U.S. negotiators landing in Islamabad must separate genuine deal-breakers from Iranian public bravado. There is a complex psychological game at play here. Adversaries often project extreme aggression to satisfy their domestic audiences, while quietly preparing to concede behind closed doors. But the U.S. delegation is not relying on diplomatic finesse alone to call that bluff. They are backed by significant hard power. There are still more than 50,000 U.S. troops in the region, and contingency plans are ready for lethal action if Iran breaks the bargain. The weekend will determine if an overwhelming military advantage can force a weakened adversary to accept a durable agreement. Modern statecraft is shaped by the high-stakes brinkmanship executed on the ground, carrying more weight than the treaties eventually signed in the room.